Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So this is another little art doll video, and it was supposed to be part of the Halloween collection, but I didn't get it finished in time, so I've only have the two dolls which are in my shop. The raccoon with the tongue out, you can see in the corner there, I don't know, ghost raccoon, and the bone bat as well. So they're both in my shop, creaturesandhat.com. And this one is, I changed, the original plan was to do a pumpkin head, but yeah, I didn't finish it in time, so I just ended up turning it into just a little black kitten, which is really cute. The idea was have it fluffy, and yeah, so I'll show you the little kitten. So there's a little kitten. It's just black fluffy kitten with a tiny little tail, no legs, really big orange eyes, so they're glass, little like a beige coloured nose. And I did like a little vote on my TikTok for how I should do the rhinestones, or if I should do any. So everyone voted for these two tiny little rhinestones on the side. So yeah, pretty cute, plain little black cat in my shop at the moment. So check that out. It's fully posable with a ball and socket armature, polymer clay head, and resin feet. And yes, that's pretty much it. Payment plans are also available if you are interested, or if you need one, just send me a message. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So if you want to see how I made her, then keep watching. Okay, so I'm starting off by painting some glass cabochons for the eyes. I'm using a water-based acrylic paint for this one, so I'm painting in the pupils first in the black, sort of feathering out the edge, and then the rest of it's going to be this nice pumpkin orange colour, which I will paint on once the black is dry, and I'll leave that to dry for 24 hours before I start putting it into any clay pieces. For the head, I am going to be sculpting the head out of Sculpey Original. It's the white one, and it's the softer one. And I like working with softer clays because I'm a pretty fast sculptor, so I like to move around a lot faster and just work with softer clays. And I'm doing that over a aluminium ball foil core, so for like, it kind of acts as like the skull, so it's an armature. And then I'm just going to be sculpting in all the details first and sort of mapping out the way I want the face, and then I can add the details at the end of it. I'm not going to add too many details because I'm going to be covering it in faux fur, so there's not too much work going into this face. For the nose, I'm going to be using a little bit of Cosclay in a beigey colour just to get that realistic look of like a kitten nose, and instead of like painting it. And I'm just going to be working around the eyes now, so I'm just going to build up like a little eye socket, and then I can add in those cabochons for the eyes, and I can add the lids and stuff after that. So I always spend a bit of time getting the eye positioning right and just looking at it at all angles and making sure that it's all symmetrical and everything, because it ends up looking a bit weird and throwing off the whole sculpt if the eyes aren't sitting properly. So I'm just pulling out the eyes and just putting in a little bit of clay on the backing of it just to push the top of it out a little bit, because it was a bit too flat for my liking. For the eyelids, I use a like a little worm piece of clay, and I put it over the top of the eye, and then I can add more detailing and make like a bigger brow with a bigger piece of clay once I'm happy with the way the lids are looking. You can achieve a lot of different shapes and expressions the way you lay that eyelid on, so have a play around and see if you can create different expressions from just a little piece of wormy clay. So from now on I can just start building up the rest of the head. So I'm just building up the forehead, and I'll build up a little bit of the brow line, and then I can start adding the ears in. For the ears, I just roll out 2 equal bits of clay and then start sort of molding it on my finger, creating a little tip and like a little concave look to it. I'm trying to make sure that they're both the same size. I end up trimming the ears a lot anyway, so I wanted these ears to face a little bit backwards, so it was a little bit cheeky looking rather than forward facing ears. So I was playing around with the positioning of where I wanted the ears first, and then I can add the other one on and sort of refine it a little bit. I'm just using my little knife. I wouldn't even call it a tool, it snapped and I just never got a new one. I'm using my little knife to create some, like a little heart-shaped nose on the top, and then using my little ball tool to make the little nostrils. This is the smallest one, and it comes in a 3-pack from Sculpey, which I use quite a lot, but you can find any ball tool on like AliExpress or eBay or something, and it'll work just the same, but I use these little ball tools to create nostrils all the time. And then just using the little needle tool to create the little line in the cute cat's nose. For the armature, I'm using a 1/4 size ball and socket armature, plastic one. I have this in my shop if you're interested in creating your own armature. I think I've got one more tool in this size, and I also have the bigger size. I've attached all the pieces to the ends as well, so the feet are resin, which I've attached to the bottoms of the feet, and I'm just going around with some pipe cleaners to create like a little catch for when I needle felt the body. So I'm using polyfill for needle felting. I use this all the time for all my bodies. It's just like a stuffing that you find in pillows, or you can stuff, I don't know, plush toys with it, stuff like that. And it works really well for needle felting instead of using alpaca fiber. It's so much cheaper, and you can create the same sort of textures and, you know, rough outline of it. So I basically just create a muscle tone with this and just bulk out the body a little bit before I start adding the faux fur. And I use a single needle felting tool, pink needle thing, to do it. You can have like 3 or 5 needles in a tool, like a holder, but I found that was really hard to work with, so I just used a single tool to create my body. So the faux fur that I'm going to be using is just pretty much a plain black faux fur with like a medium pile length. It's pretty good quality. I use this a lot for my dolls. So I'm starting off with the torso piece first. So I'm just pinning it together around the stomach, and then I'm going to be cutting around the legs to allow for some more pinning and sewing together. And then I can add the legs, all of the legs and the neck area, and then finally the tail area. So it's a bit of work, this one, a lot of hand sewing and sort of a lot of refining bits of fabric to make sure it sits flush against the body that you needle felted. But I find that it works a lot better to have a way more refined body, and I just think it looks better. So I use a ladder stitch to sew everything together, and I also use a good quality thread, so I use Gutermann thread. And when you're using a ladder stitch, you sort of have to have the tension quite tight so it keeps the seams closed. So with the cheaper quality threads, they tend to snap a lot and tangle a lot, so definitely get yourself a good quality thread. So I start by gluing everything together using a tacky fabric glue, and it's just like a little glue that I get from my local craft store Spotlight here in Australia. It's just clear and it dries in about 24 hours. I usually leave it, and then I add some to the feet as well once I've sewn everything together and I'm happy with the way everything looks. So I leave that to dry for at least a few hours before moving on to anything else. Before I start adding the faux fur to the face, I'm just going to paint the head in black, so there's not much show through when I apply the faux fur. So I did a little post on my TikTok about where I should put the rhinestones for this one, or if I should do rhinestones at all. And everyone sort of voted for the number 2, 3, I think it was 3 option, where there was like one little rhinestone above each eye. So I applied those, added some whiskers, and that's pretty much it. So this little one is available in my shop, ktten.com. Check it out. If you need a payment plan, do send me a message and we can work something out. I'm super flexible. But that is it for today, and I'll catch you in the next one. You can also find me on Patreon for a little bit more, and Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Creatures in That, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.